God is dawn. Like and subscribe. Comment some night. Love in this light. Here's God is dawn. God is dawn. God is dawn.
Peace, world, peace. Welcome or welcome back to Goddess Dawn Speaks. I am Goddess Dawn. So it's a lot going on. It's a lot going on in these YouTube streets, child. Okay, let's move on to Bonjean because I'm about to bust at the seams.
So you remember when Nicole Becker said basically the same little stuff that this new lady was saying? She gonna get him out. She gonna do that, and everybody was all hyped up about that. Again, he needs to be held accountable. I don't care nothing about. He chose those lawyers. He had all of those lawyers. He had what, 6, 7 lawyers,
Yeah,
and then all of a sudden the lawyers are ineffective.
Oh, they all done gotten thrown in the trash at this point. They've all been deemed ineffective. Well, let me finish looking in the chat real quick. I think Trump set up Afghanistan so Russia could go in later and try to take it. Russia was in a war with them for decades. Ooh, that's a good point too. And that actually reminds me of the R. Kelly situation with Bonjean coming in, because I do feel it was set up for her to come in. It was like they set up all the pins nice for her, and she came in and bowl, and she's trying to bowl a strike by the pins being set up the way they did for her specifically. I feel like she was always in the loop and was saying, if you guys let this happen, I can get this, I can use that. Just let it happen. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't put too much effort into this. Let me take care of it after the fact. Let me.
Okay, we'll see. You got a bunch of people in that prosecution. Them people are not playing. And so is Ann Donnelly. She not playing either.
Well, I understand that, but sometimes when it don't matter if you're not playing or not, because if the rules is the rules, it's the law. Like the law, you don't have no feelings, it don't have no emotions.
Did you find that? Did you find that that recording or that transcript where Ann Donnelly told him or told
when was the Curcio hearing? That because I need to see by date. Let me look.
I can't remember.
Let me see if I can find. I think that was started in the summer, so it was before that, like right before trial started. So maybe like July.
Where she stated, when there was issues aboard up, a conflict with whatever that lady's name is.
Blank Becker.
Yeah, and if it could hurt his chances for appeal, do you still want her as a lawyer? And he said yes. So yeah, you need to find that.
Because the transcript for the Curcio wouldn't come out right when the Curcio happened. It takes time for those transcripts to be released. And even then, sometimes you have to request it. It's not just available. So with that said, that's gonna be an assignment. You see in the chat. Let me see in the chat. Queen, how did Bonjean find this information out about the jurors being biased too if his lawyers didn't? That is a good point. I think that basically she's looking at everything after it has played out already. So she's able to kind of go through it with fine-tooth comb and find little things that she feels has infringed on his rights, or in her legal opinion. Not to say that everything she says and does is just hands down gonna work. Nobody's saying that. I'm definitely not saying that. I just feel like that's her job, though, is to do this and throw it up there and see what happens. I really think someone else sent them texts from the phone, because Alice did lose her phone when she ran on stage to get ass when she was still with him. So when we last left off together, we talked about her motions. I didn't read them. I still haven't, to be honest. I'm really waiting for her to refile the proper formatted motions, because within those, she will have to also display the government's argument. So that way I can see what she's saying versus what the government has said. And then also the government is going to be responding to them. And we definitely going to read that too. So I'm going to wait for that stuff. I don't think I want to wait for her rejected motions.
Right.
Queen says something not right. Hope he don't get out. I swear I'm feeling for as a safety if he does. Ooh. And even Joy, like, where is Joy?
Yeah, where's Joy?
Like, that is just crazy that it's been just such silence on her part. Even, I guess, it would be nice to know that she was in touch with family or someone, maybe she
Yeah,
is, and they're just not be able to speak out on her behalf to say that she's okay, but even for someone to have to do that for her, or maybe she's just private and don't want to do it. Because I have a friend, she's not on social media, refuses, doesn't want no parts of it, and she's just really private, and maybe that's just how she's rolling. I'm hoping that's the case, but she's so quiet.
I mean, last we knew it was still no contact. Even when the grandmother passed away, they were, making a public plea with her to get in contact with the family. They wasn't even talking to the third party no more at that point. Like,
Right. Joy too, I'm hoping she won't be harmed by him or us, since she has most of the evidence. Well, yeah, I could see definitely a reason for him to try to go after Azrael. Joycelyn supposedly is the new wifey, so I guess she's supposed to be safe, even though he ain't nobody safe around him, whether he claims to love them or not.
right.
I can't see any acquittal for this guy just because he's up against so much. And
Yeah.
the jury made their decision. If they do acquit him and do a new trial, all they're going to do is avoid the things that caused the new trial, but there's still going to probably be and they may even have more at this point evidence. And if she's challenging the prosecution to actually show the enterprise, because she's challenging the existence of the enterprise, because he's one man and they didn't charge any other people, but there are people being charged in separate cases individually. Yeah. So they can link those cases to him and just rearrange the way they're prosecuting, change their strategy.
Yeah.
The evidence is there, in my opinion.
And then not only that, they forget that also in the Chicago trial. See, the Brooklyn said they're still sharing any evidence and testimony that the Chicago trial is going to need. They're willing to share everything. And so we know for sure they didn't show all 100 devices in that Brooklyn trial and evidence, and they had what they said over 400 things or whatever, and then the discovery, like it's just so much. I think that the Chicago reason why it's so major is because the enterprise is going to be exposed, and the people that that I've been impatiently waiting to get caught up, like for instance Cheryl Mack and them. I think that's when they're all going to get prosecuted, is in that Chicago trial.
Well, that is the trial with the minors, the abuse of the minors, and like I said, the obstruction and coercion of Rashana and the Lampairs. And for them to say double jeopardy on that and not understand, oh, he was acquitted that already. But this is the point. It wasn't a fair acquittal. It wasn't, he coerced that.
Yeah, that was an illegal acquittal.
And also they said on that panel that Aaliyah, she said, I heard somebody said that they're going to bring up Aaliyah in the Chicago trial too. She's like, but that was already proven that was a lie. I said, what? And she said, yeah, because Demetrius, because Bonjean, she names Demetrius Smith as also being testimony. She said that she feels was I guess coerced or forced by the government. She's saying the government pressured him, and also that it wasn't proven that the bribery happened. That's what she said in her.
Yeah, I did read that, and she said it wasn't proven. I'm like, this woman is on dope. You know damn well it was.
So this person said that it wasn't proven that the marriage wasn't. It was proven to be a lie. So this is, and then one of them said, "Oh, and I do believe that." Depending on who you got your transcripts from, that people had gotten different transcripts, because I was hearing different things from different people's channels when they were supposed to have the same transcripts. Well, what she probably didn't realize, some of these people weren't weren't saying everything. They were eliminating stuff they didn't want to, they some things they didn't want out there, or they didn't want to admit it, or I don't know what, but they just weren't all reading everything. They were just reading what they wanted to read.
Yep, they were, and putting out there what they wanted to have out there, because they such a R. Kelly ass sucker.
JC said Kelly wasn't charged with the old case with peeing on a minor. He was charged with child porn, and we all fucking know he was guilty of that.
Yep.
Sure was. For it to be double jeopardy, it has to be the same court charging with the same charges, child porn. And that's what I think I said. I was back and forth with somebody about it. I'm like, well, first of all, that 2008 was a state case. We dealing with the feds now. And also, the child porn. See, it's just so much. And that's the other thing Bonjean pointed out in her motions, is that she said that the government overwhelmed the jury purposely, basically. All of the additional bad acts. She said, and they're not even necessarily crimes, they're just bad acts. And she knows good and well as an attorney that a bad act is definitely showing patterns of behavior. Like it's a part of proving, your argument. So for her to kind of poo-poo that, trying to say they overwhelmed. Well, what would you do if you had a slippery motherfucker getting out of stuff every time they try to get them? You gonna pile it on, and you are gonna pile it on. That's just how it goes. I mean, honestly, when it comes to law, if it's legally allowed for a prosecutor to charge a certain thing, or to, the judge has to approve everything before they move forward with the trial anyway. So if everything flies, then it flies. Like, go change the laws if you don't like it, but it is what it is. So now she's coming back and trying to undo stuff like, oh, this, that, and the other. Judge Ann's being challenged. She's challenging everything. Okay, let's see. If you remember, Lisa Van Allen said she had threesome with Rashana. So I believe she's in the Chicago trial too.
Mm-hmm.
Queen, he's not even charged with the same crime. What they don't get. Exactly. JC, if another state charged him with child porn, there's no double jeopardy. Mm-hmm. And the feds in Illinois can charge Kelly with child porn because they are separate sovereignties. Yeah. So Bonjean, in my opinion, though, was a part of the plan. I just feel like because I just felt like his whole defense was a joke. Like, I mean,
it was.
If anybody admitted something, it was Greenberg admitting that he was married to Aaliyah. I remember that on video in an interview or something.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things. And now you see he's a big part of Bonjean's argument. The ineffective assistance or ineffective counsel piece is Greenberg. And he literally was. If she combs through social media of people talking shit about him and how he's not doing his job, I mean, I don't know if she could use that to say, look, even the public said this man was a do. People literally said that he's undoing, that he's trying to do him in and things like that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It was just so obvious to me. So if, if this is her expertise, I could see them kind of saying, you know what, I don't know how we're going to win this, but maybe because of how things have been handled, we can, after the fact, get him off. Some of them just focus on that because it's easier. Even Greenberg said that. I think he does that too. He's a big appeal guy. So I don't know. I just feel like she is, I don't know if I could say overrated because I don't really know her record, but these people are talking her up big. But she has to prove.
Boy, as soon as she can't come through, it's gonna be all hell to pay the piper. They're gonna come after her like they.
Okay, they sure will.
I hope the other attorneys let her know how to pee how it works.
I was gonna say, does she even know what she's dealing with? Because these ain't them Nexon people.
Okay.
Those were like rich Caucasians. They're nothing like these people.
No.
So yeah, she's she's got a team of people, clearly, all working together to help her piece this thing together. I just see her as, I think JC said this in one of my under one of the comments of videos, saying that she's like an ambulance chaser. And I actually used that argument for somebody who came in my comments trying to say we sound unintelligent because we're making fun of the motions. And I said I wasn't making fun of the motions. I was making fun of the fact that she couldn't even get the requirements right for her submission. Like, why would you submit this paperwork and it doesn't fit within the guidelines of the court?
Right.
We know it's going to get rejected. Unless she just didn't have time and decided, well, I'm going to throw this out there anyway, see what happens. Maybe it'll stick. But yeah, she's challenging, the herpes. You didn't prove the herpes. You didn't prove that he, gave it to her, Faith, intentionally or whatever. It's just insane. I don't even know how she could do this morally, but then I think about the people defending him and how hard and hardcore they're still defending this man. It is unbelievable to me.
I can only imagine what her emails and phone line is looking like with them flooding her with thinking that they're submitting information and proof and facts to help her out with his case, like they did the other attorney.
I'm gonna read this little part from the 22-page motion. This one is for the new trial. Defendant is entitled to a new trial where one of his trial attorneys labored under a disabling conflict of interest as a result of her simultaneous representation of the defendant and the government star witness Jane that was imputed to the entire defense team. Says the defense is entitled to a new trial where he was denied his Sixth Amendment constitutional guarantee of a conflict-free counsel. Mere weeks before the commencement of trial, it was discovered that one of the defendant's attorneys, Ms. Becker, may be suffering from a conflict of interest because of her prior representation of the government's key witness, Jane, which we know is Azriel, right? Consistent with its obligations, their court conducted a cursio hearing. Oh, here's a cursio. She was asking me to find. And concluded that Ms. Becker had entered into an attorney-client relationship with Jane while she was representing the defendant. Although this conflict was an unwaivable conflict, the court permitted the defendant to waive it. She did. I did kind of wonder why. I was like hoping she would just say, no, like this is a conflict of interest, because it's always better to be safe than sorry. Yeah. I remember though that Judge Ann, and this is what Baby Yoda was saying that to find, because I remember when she did ask him, do you want to keep her because of this situation? And she also said something to him like, well, keep in mind, this will something about affecting his appeal should he need to do that or something like that.
Yeah.
Says, because the defendant was denied conflict-free counsel by an attorney who likely possessed information that could have been used to discredit Jane's testimony, but was unable to utilize the information without revealing attorney-client communications, defendant was prejudiced by this conflict. Then they go into a case precedent about the Sixth Amendment, which I guess is supposed to be a similar. I'm not going to read that. Let me go see what else she says about Becker, though. July 15, 2021, just weeks before commencement of trial, Jane's prior attorney, Ms. Rodriguez, disclosed to the court that she was previously retained by Jane and another possible government witness, and it says Jay Savage. In July 19, Rodriguez met defendant attorney Ms. Becker in person at a bond hearing at the Durskin Center in July of 2019. Ms. Rodriguez expressly told Ms. Becker that she represented Jane and Savage, instructing her not to contact Jane. Ms. Rodriguez provided a text message to the court that showed that she, Rodriguez, texted Ms. Becker stating, I don't want the lines blurred regarding our role, and I think they're already blurred. Please do not contact them at all without my knowledge. So the previous attorney, Ms. Rodriguez, I remember this came up somewhere because I remember talking about this, but she volunteered. She just stepped up to say, look, this, you guys need to know about this. Is that what happened, or do we know?
I believe so, if I remember correctly.
JC said they all knew about her representing as, and they still had her in. Perhaps she was their way to try to get it overturned if they lost. That's what I was saying. This stuff is planted. They're, letting these things rock because they know at the end of the day, somebody like a Bonjean can come in and turn it over. That's the whole thing. But I don't think Judge Ann would have wanted that, though. She's the one that let it fly.
So can Becker face any kind of prosecution or anything?
She should lose her damn law license, and she should face some time too, I think, because this is criminal.
Yeah.
This thing goes on. Rodriguez told the court that she later learned that Ms. Becker had been contacting Jane and Savage. What a snake. She told her to leave her clients alone, and she as an attorney should have respected that.
Right.
According to Rodriguez, Jane suggested she was getting advice from Becker in connection to how to handle the media. Oh yeah, I remember this. Rodriguez declined to divulge further information about her conversations with Jane, but stated her representation formally ended when she received an instruction signed by Jane telling her to provide her attorney's file to her new attorney, Miss Becker. Wow. So Rodriguez tells her, stay away from my clients. This is not right. I don't want any lines blurred, And then she not only continues communication, goes back behind her back and steals her client. Ms. Becker confirmed that she had communications with Jane. The government also confirmed that Jane had told prosecutors that she had a lengthy meeting with Ms. Becker in August 2019. The government revealed that in their conversations with Jane revealed information to the government that she received from Ms. Becker that the government viewed as adverse to the defendant. What?
Wait. This is deep.
The government revealed in their conversations with Jane Azriel that Azriel revealed information to the government that she received from Ms. Becker. So what a horrible attorney she is. What's her name? Blank Becker gave information to Azriel, and during this time, I guess Azriel was still with him. She shared some things, and I guess Azriel turned around and used some of that stuff and gave it to the prosecution. And then at the same time, she's, still defending R. Kelly. So it's a conflict. Like, this court seemingly concluded that Ms. Becker had formed an attorney-client relationship with Jane while she was representing the defendant, evidenced not only by Ms. Rodriguez's statements, but by the fact that Jane instructed Rodriguez to send her file to Ms. Becker. The government further pointed out that Ms. Becker might suffer from a so-called Fulton conflict, which arises when a lawyer is accused of misconduct, whether true or not. In those scenarios, the attorney may violate his or her duty of loyalty to her client by prioritizing her own interests in defending herself against accusations of misconduct. This court acknowledged that Becker did suffer from a conflict and that it amounted to a conflict that could be waived and mitigated by ensuring that Becker did not conduct the cross-examination of Jane. This court afforded the defendant the opportunity to consult with a third-party lawyer and admonished him before accepting his waiver of conflict-free counsel. Admonished him. So that third-party attorney, I remember when the judge assigned this attorney to make sure, I guess, that everything kept moving while all this stuff was going on with the lawyers. Like, his lawyers had a bad situation going on amongst them that the judge had to put an attorney into play. And that is also something that I was questioning at the time, because I was like, well, I mean, I know the judge is supposed to be a neutral party and everything, but I don't know. I just kind of feel like with Judge Ann's background as an advocate for victims and children, I just feel like we kind of know where she stands. But this is, let's see.
This deep and serious.
Defendant is entitled to a new trial where his attorney, Ms. Becker, labored under a per se or actual conflict of interest that could not be waived. First, as the government pointed out, Ms. Becker seemingly suffered from a Fulton conduct conflict. Oh, the government they repeated what the government has said. Okay, so, and then this is her just saying that they were right. And where there is no question that by communicating about the case with the government's key witness, notwithstanding that the witness had her own counsel and did not consent to the communications, she opened herself up to accusations of misconduct or even possibly an attempt to influence a government witness on behalf of her client. That is not to say that the allegation is true, but an attorney who may be perceived as having engaged in that type of misconduct suffers from a per se conflict, since the attorney cannot be free from fear that a vigorous defense should lead the prosecutor or trial judge to discover evidence of the attorney's own wrongdoing. And then it says she formed an attorney-client relationship with Jane. Her interests diverged from defendant because she also owed a duty of loyalty to Jane, the government's key witness. Ms. Becker was placed under inconsistent duties because of her representation of the defendant and Jane, an adverse witness. Prejudice must be presumed where Becker had at least one extended conversation with Jane about her relationship with the defendant and may have obtained privileged information from the file that Jane's prior attorney sent to Becker at Jane's request. That is so true. She had the file in her hands when she was good with R. Kelly, but then when Azriel turned to the prosecution side, Becker had that information already. So that she should have never been. Yeah, she should have been X'd out of the equation. However, Becker was prohibited by the attorney-client privilege from disclosing any information she may have received from conversations with Jane or from prior attorney's file, even if that information would have been beneficial to the defendant's defense. The government suggested, although the record is unclear on this point, Jane may have obtained privileged information from Becker that was adverse to the defendant, information that most certainly was passed along to the government. So this goes on. I mean, there's more she's pointing out because of Becker and her conflict of interests. And then she has the risk of prejudice was made more significant by the fact Jane was not just any witness, but the government's star witness. Defendant's Sixth Amendment guarantee of a conflict-free counsel was denied. In light of the foregoing, defendant's convictions must be vacated and a new trial ordered. And that's most of this document is surrounding that issue. So thanks, Nicole Blank Becker.
Right.
And on top of that, like we had discussed before, she didn't even stay for the verdict.
Nope.
Yeah, she's pretty much this whole document. I wonder how she feels about that. I wonder what is going on with her. I would love to be a fly on the wall.
Right.
Well, it's not really, because I wouldn't. Her place looked so nasty when they walked into that hotel room with her husband behind her singing some R. Kelly.
Oh, Lord.
It looked like, y'all remember, and I love me some Whitney, but we have to remember on that reality show, remember that picture they had of her bathroom?
Yeah.
That's how Becker's hotel room looked when she opened it. I was like, girl, come on now. Just chaos, just chaotic. Her whole life is probably like that. I mean, anybody who's close to R. Kelly and who is dealing and willing on his behalf, and I can't even imagine what is really going on in this woman's life or inside of her.
Okay.
JC says, if I remember right, the judge made it clear the conflict to Kelly and asked him if he waived it, and he did. Yeah, that's exactly what she said, and we were speaking of. That's what Miss Della was saying for me to find. She wanted me to find out what the judge said to him after he said yes, because the judge said something to him to having to do with if you do allow this, that it's going to negatively affect your appeal, if should you have an appeal request or something like that. And he said yes. So I mean, it was his decision, but I don't know that. I just feel like maybe she should have heard what the conflict was and made that decision that this is not going to work, because it could jeopardize the trial at the end of the day. All that hard work and things, evidence, everything, these witnesses flying in and out, Geronda's pregnant, about to have a baby, all these things going on. And just because Becker was allowed to be a part of his defense team, it could, according to her document, he's, this trial is in the trash.
Right. Damn. This is a sticky situation.
It definitely is. So that's what that is. I have my, I'm going to stand by what I feel about her, that she was a plant, she was already in the mix, and they had already planned all of this. All of them had their heads together, I think.
Right.
And they just passed the ball to each other. It's your turn, you up, Calvin and Scholar, what's his name? Canick and Scholar came in just to do the trial itself. Can you imagine if they hadn't? It was just Nicole and what's his name?
Farinella.
Farinella. That would have been a mess.
A straight monkey mess.
He already said he was guilty in the opening statement.
Yeah.
And you're going to find the defendant guilty. JC said, I don't think it will get thrown out. I don't think so either. I mean, she narrowed down on some things, but then again, I mean, I don't know. I just know that with the law, you just have to know that it could be some little technicality. You know what I'm saying? And when it comes to the law, like I keep saying, it just really it's just black and white. It's there's no bending it or feelings involved or, even facts, to be honest with you. It's just like how people are able, like how Trump, he uses the tax laws for his advantage. He gets away with stuff because of loopholes. This is the same way with criminal law. So I don't think so either, though. I mean, I don't feel, I was going to pull the cards out, but I'm going to do a separate reading on this situation. But I strongly do feel that this thing is going to stand and he's going to get sentenced. Now, once this is a formality, because I think her real goal is to file for an appeal with the 2nd District. So this is really just her doing her due diligence, because this is the steps that have to be taken prior to the appeal request. So, even if this doesn't fly, we're going to see her come back with trying to get the appeals court to hear her out. And there's no guarantee that they will. They may well reject this, the filing. So, and, I kind of feel like they will, because they already rejected him before.
Right.
Trying to get bail, emergency bail. So, JC, it's possible some things may happen to Nicole, but the judge protected the case. She was clear it was when they added her to the case. Right. She had been working off the record, like kind of like just as a part of the team, but not officially. But yeah, that's when she came in and got on board officially. And that's when all the conflicts was bubbling to the surface with Greenberg and all that. And that, I think I had a hashtag blame Greenberg, because that's all that was I knew that was what was going to happen. And it did. That's exactly what ended up happening. But we saw that early on that there were reasons for people to blame Greenberg for stuff.
Yeah, it was.
that's the whole thing. It's like with this high profile case, I don't know how this man, is paying these people, but just like the Super Bowl, I feel like, the publicity is worth even more than you could probably get paid, because this is a platform, you're on a world stage at this point with this case. So you're able to, reach platforms and things that you wouldn't have otherwise, as far as even with news outlets and being interviewed on certain platforms and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, you just have a further reach when your name is attached to something this big, even regardless of how it ends up in your favor or not, you were a part of it. So you are an insider on this situation. Want to hear what you have to say. I'm sure Greenberg could get on any news channel and talk about this stuff if he wants to. I mean, he has actually. I think Miss Della brought it up that he's gone from news outlet, but I think he's kind of slowed down on that. But yeah, I don't know. This is just an ongoing thing. I feel like I've gotten on a train that has no destination. It's just going to keep going and going, because he just has so many other things. I mean, there's the Illinois. There, of course, New York is still obviously happening. It's still, I mean, he's been convicted, but like, there's still activity. Then there's Illinois federal, where that's starting in August. But are we going to get a sentence for him on New York in May as it's scheduled, or is this stuff going to impede that? Question. I don't know how that works.
I think we're gonna get a sentence for him in May.
Yeah, and they can just fight for the appeal. That's what's gonna have to happen.
Yep.
And then there's Minnesota and whatever else he has lingering. There may even be new indictments coming. I think we're talking about Atlanta for a while. I remember hearing Atlanta was maybe going to be bringing something up on him.
Yeah, they said they was wrapping it up.
Yeah, so
that's what Greg said,
I just feel like R. Kelly just may not make it himself personally as a human being. I don't know. He probably begging for it to be taken.
Right.
Well, he could also be begging to be taken literally in jail as he's bending over.
Yeah.
We can take that two ways. He also brought up the fact that as Bonjean in this motion about, surviving R. Kelly, and the fact that jurors have watched the series. A part of this says, to be blunt, defense counsel agreed to the seating of a juror who not only watched Surviving R. Kelly, but concluded that defendant, quote, loves underage girls. There simply cannot be any real I guess it meant supposed to be trial strategy for failing to excuse this juror for cause. Had trial counsel challenged this clearly unqualified juror, the court seemingly would have struck him or her for cause. Trial counsel not only did not move to disqualify the juror, he did not even ask the court to probe more deeply into the juror's statements on the questionnaire that defendant loves underage girls. The juror said that on a statement. Oh, wow. Yeah, he loves underage girls. They probably said, well, what's wrong with that? Maybe they felt like the juror thought that there was nothing wrong with that. And they felt like maybe that they would be on his side.
Right.
Juror number 7, she's also bringing up, she said he also revealed in his questionnaire that he had heard about the case and the alleged crimes. Trial counsel did not ask the court to question the juror further about what he heard specifically or where he heard it. The court merely asked the juror whether he could put aside what he heard and rely on the evidence presented in the case. That's what they do. That's kind of typical in a jury, right, when they're picking jury in the voir dire, picking the jury. They're gonna ask the question, and then they ask, well, okay, well, do you think you can still be fair?
Right.
I remember I tried to get out of jury one time, jury duty, and I forgot exactly what the case was, but I remember using my profession, trying to say, well, because I'm in this profession. They were like, well, can you still look beyond? I was like, I don't think so. They're like, are you sure? You can't be fair? I was like, well, I am a fair person. Okay, great. You're in. I'm like, wait a minute. Geez, this is not unusual. I don't know. Yeah, I think, she's just a lot of talk and a lot of bark.
Yep.
On paper. And I feel like, because she is, I guess, considered an expert with appeals, this, like I said, is the pre-appeal paperwork that has to be done. So I think she's ready to just sink her teeth into the appeal. And this is just something she's just, kind of seeing what's going to happen. Let's see what the judge says. The government's going to have to come back and the judge is going to make her decision. You think she's going to decide against herself? I don't think so.
No.
So any other input on
Well,
this?
Well, of course, Beijing gonna try to make it look good on her end, make it look all fancy and victorious. But
Did you call her Beijing?
yeah, it's it just come out so
That is
fluent.
so funny. It reminds me, isn't that what that hair dye is called that the men wear?
Yep.
That is so funny.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna call it. Still continue to support the channel by liking, the video, and as well sharing and commenting. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate y'all. Everybody else who might be watching. Peace.
God is dawn. Like and subscribe. Comment some night. Love in this light. Yes, God is dawn. God is dawn. God is dawn.